Greetings and welcome to Zimbabwe Daily. My name is Yvonne, and this is Understanding Democracy Conversations Part 2. And today we're talking the youth factor. So, people under the age of 35 are rarely found in formal political leadership, and in a third of countries, eligibility for national parliament starts at 25 years or higher. And it is common practice to refer to politicians as young if they are below 35 to 40 years of age. The youth is not adequately represented in formal political institutions and processes such as parliament, political parties, election, and public administration. The situation is even more difficult for young women and women in general at mid-level and decision-making or leadership position. Unfortunately, Cecelia, Chimbiri, and Honorable Tatinda Mavetera are not able to join us for this conversation to give us the female perspective of young people participation, especially young women participation in electoral processes. Anyway, in order to respond to the needs of young people and to guarantee that their basic rights are recognized and enforced, young people's active and meaningful participation in their societies and in democratic practices and processes is of crucial importance. Today, we want to interrogate whether opportunities are available for young people to effectively and meaningfully participate in democratic processes and practices, and why not if they are not. So I have in studio with me former ZINASU Secretary General Tapiwanashe Chiriga. Welcome.
Thank you, Yvonne. It's a pleasure being here.
Excellent. I also have the NAYO National Association of Youth Organizations MERL manager. What's MERL manager?
Thank you very much, Yvonne. It's monitoring, evaluation, research, and learning.
Excellent. Welcome to the show. I also have online from Zambia the UPND Information and Publicity Secretary, Joseph Kalimbwe. Welcome, Joseph. Joseph, are you online? All right. We seem to not be able to hear you, Joseph. If you can just sort out your device. I see that it's gone the other way. If you can put it on auto rotate. All right. So whilst our technical team are working with him over that side, we want to kickstart this conversation. Gentlemen, the youth factor. I know, Mcdonald, you are seized with the Leave No Youth Behind campaign that is going on at the NAYO. Now, when we talk Leave No Youth Behind, why such a campaign? And, why did you even decide to come up with such a campaign?
All right. So, thank you very much, Yvonne. The Leave No Youth Behind campaign is engineered and is largely informed by some of the issues that you raised in opening up this particular dialogue session. To say that when we look at representation of young people in governance institutions, for instance, the parliament, local authorities, you'd find that young people are missing in terms of the numbers. Yet we are saying that when we look at our society, young people make up the numbers.
Right.
Where are these numbers falling away? Why are these numbers not counting when we get to moments where they need to count? And like you've also highlighted, you'd find that some of the reasons as to why young people are not finding themselves in public office also has to do with some of the inconsistencies within our own constitution. A very good example, Section 67 says at the age of 18, I can
vote.
I can vote.
Right.
I can choose and I can also stand for public office. But you'd find that further section of the constitution will tell me that as a young person, I cannot stand for public office until I'm 20 so and so. Yet we are saying that at 18, I should just be able to vote for you. And if I want you to vote for me, stand for office and then you vote for me.
Right.
Beyond that, you'd also understand that in our society, we are largely a cultural Christian society. And you'd find that the kind of socialization in which we have grown, it has relegated the young person to the peripheries of societal issues. Where growing up, you'd know that decisions are made by amadalas. We would always be on the peripheries. And now we have seen a generation that has grown, that has always been accustomed to things being done on their behalf.
Right.
Yet, with the virtue of the 2013 Constitution, we are saying as young people, equally and fully, you need to be sitting on the table, you need to be giving your voice, you need to be making decisions so that we can also be able to see how our own young people can be able to influence and change the narrative. So basically, the Leave No Youth Behind campaign is there to build a critical mass and movement of young people who are willing to take issues of public office and politics seriously, who are willing to stand for public office, who are willing to be champions within their own communities and mobilize other young people. And in that process, also even disseminate critical information around also how other young people can participate in issues of politics and public office. Because also another key thing is our young people don't have information. I don't know how to stand for public office. I don't even know what's needed for me to go and register to vote. So through that campaign and its pillars, go educate, we're educating young people, go mobilize, we're mobilizing each other through peer-to-peer approaches. Go register. We are saying at the end of the day, with the information, go register. We also have got the pillar, go vote, where we are saying more critically, elections are about choosing, these candidates. Ultimately, on election day, we must also be seen to participate. Because I mean, a very good example, if you look at the 2018 elections, with a sizable number of our young people registering to vote.
Right.
But how many of those actually went to vote on election day?
That's really sad to hear when you say that young people don't know what they need to go and register to vote. They don't know what they need to do in order for them to stand for public office. That's actually quite a disturbing discovery, if I may say. And Tapiwanashe, you've been mostly in student activism as a leader of ZINASU. But when you then look at your being able to be in that particular structure, and you look at our political structures, the parties that we have, is it easy to make that transition? Or you are, when people look at you, like I've just introduced you as a former ZINASU youth leader, when they look at you, do they think that you have the capacity to stand as a leader in a political party?
So I would speak firstly to how Section 7 of our Constitution is deliberately been ignored by almost every developing partner in Zimbabwe, from government itself to CSOs. They are complicit in that. To the citizens in general, especially those who are at least informed. Section 7 speaks to how the Constitution should be disseminated, should be educated, should be informed, and how young people should be taught in schools, in public institutions, and all workers of the government. But then, as you can see, a number of our people do not know the Constitution, and most importantly, a number of our people do not understand the social contract. So it's more about how people don't understand the social contract, number one, and how they do not understand citizen agency itself, and less about how they understand why they should be voting, because you can't go and register to vote and vote properly, or at least know the essence and the sanctity of your vote,
Right.
if you do not understand citizen agency itself. So before we urge young people to register to vote, because a number of them are registering to vote today, but do they know which roles they should be playing towards 2023? How are they demanding the forms? How are they holding those who are still in authority today accountable? Do they understand the power that they have? So as long as you don't have that aspect of citizen agency within the young people, within the total population, because even the old people themselves, I've seen much blame being given to young people, as if the older generation is in any way different after all. I mean, the mess that we are in, they were young too when it happened. I mean,
Right.
every one of us in this country is complicit in as far as the mess we are in, whether young or old, because they do not understand the Constitution. They do not understand the power that they have as citizens. They do not understand that those who are in authority, they actually their servants. To your question, Yvonne, on the transition from student leadership to political participation, I can tell you that because our politics has been very much binary, it has been very much polarized, it has been very much intolerant, and very much acerbic in as far as ideas are concerned. It's very sad that you would see that many young people struggle to at least find their path, at least for those who would want to do that, because some of us are not exactly in political party structures, but by choice, of course, but we participate politically.
Right.
But many people struggle to find their path and their fit from student or youth activism into mainstream politics, for the simple reason that we're not exactly renewing our political structures.
Right.
We're not exactly building capacity. We're not exactly appreciating the young brains that are rising up there. We have the same MPs from 1980. We have the same, you look into those who are in government, but there are some who have never been in government. Some who
Yeah,
have
but
been
they've been in
deputy,
parliament.
but they've been in parliament since 1970,
perenniality.
since 1983, since 1985.
Right.
And you ask, what exactly do you still want to do? In as much as they have a democratic right and constitutional right to participate, we also should not say that
Deprive
because they
them,
are old, they should not. But no, they should participate. But the worry is, what else do they still need to bring? And do they have any plans of opening up the space for young people? And speaking of young people having their space opened, I can encourage young people right now that nobody's going to do that for you. Open it up for yourself and get in.
Excellent. Open it up for yourself and get in. That is the message to the young people. Let us not be, driven back to the periphery of our political processes. Joseph, are you back now? Can we hear you, Joseph? Say hi. Back to the periphery of our political processes. Joseph, are you back now? Can we hear you, Joseph?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're getting a little bit of feedback, but I hope our technical team will be able to deal with that. Now, Joseph, you've been passionate on Twitter, Zimbabwe, talking about everything that we do here, urging our young people to go and register to vote, talking about the changes that are happening in Zambia and how these can also be possible in Zimbabwe. Why do you feel the need to urge the Zimbabwean young people to go and register to vote? To urge the Zimbabwean young people to go and register to vote.
Well, first of all, the reasons why we do this is because we are coming from the very same political struggle. I was listening to the previous speaker speak about coming from student activism background. I was equal in student politics. We were shaped in there. But even before I joined student politics, I was in the UPND since I was 17 years old. It's been a roller coaster where we've been trying to learn about the politics of our country. But beyond learning about the politics of our country, our party leader, President Hakainde Hichilema, has always been advocating for the fact that we learn the politics beyond Zambia. We learn what other people from different countries do. And we've been learning. It's been a learning process. We want to learn about how people in Cameroon are doing their politics. And so the case of Zimbabwe is one that has been of particular interest because comrades in MDC then, the Movement for Democratic Change Alliance, they were supporting our struggle. When we were in the opposition, they were supporting our presidential candidate, President Hakainde Hichilema. From way back, they've been supporting our struggle. They've been standing with us when no one wanted to stand with us. And we're very happy with that. These are people that are principled. They're standing on a firm ground to say we must support those who are being oppressed. Our party was being oppressed. Our party president was being oppressed. He was in jail in 2017, and we never had other people coming to support us. They wanted to have their bread buttered both ways. And that is what I was also talking about on social media just in the morning. To say, comrades, it's wrong to say you are interfering in other issues when people that struggled and that supported our struggle are in those structures. Nelson Chamisa supported our struggle. Musti Maimane supported our struggle. Zito Kabwe supported our struggle. Well, personally, I'm going to treat those people the very same way they treated us when they were supporting our struggle, when they were supporting my president, my party president when he was in jail. They decided to stand with him. And so that is the principle that we are taking. And so that is what we also urge young in Zimbabwe to say, go and register to vote. Give the very same energy you give when you are going to support musicians, when you are going to watch Burna Boy and his concerts. You brave the code to go and watch his concert. Brave the same code to go and register to vote. Because what we did in Zambia is not different from what other African countries can do. What other young people from the African continent can do. They can be able to go and fight for change. But we also need young to support their political party, to engage process, to run in those political spaces, whether it is a ward, whether you want to be a councillor, whether you want to become a representative within the ward, join a political party structure, provide change from there, because at the end of the day, politics is going to do you. You might claim to say politics does not get involved in your life, but at the end of the day, politicians are going to make it affect you.
Oh my God, network seems to be playing a big number on Joseph there.
Yes, I was saying that we need young people to get involved in this. I was saying the reasons why we need young people to get involved in this process.
Okay, we seem to be having connection issues with Joseph that side, but no,
Can you
the
record again?
conversation. Joseph talks about solidarity with the people of Zimbabwe because people have also, some people from Zimbabwe have stood with President HH when he was still in opposition politics. But Joseph, if you can hear me, I would really want to understand what the youth of Zambia did when HH got into power that Zimbabwean young people you feel are not doing here in Zimbabwe. All right. We seem to not be able to get hold of Joseph there, but all the same, the conversation continues. As a young person who has continued to follow what's been happening on our political landscape in our country, why do you think there's so much apathy amongst the young people? I know at some point when we had a conversation, you talk about young people being demobilized, but maybe you may want to just expound on that for us.
So the apathy is number one, a reason of a result of young people getting demobilized, immobilized, and demoralized from politics and civic participation. But it's more than that. It's the death of trust. It's the death and the continued waning of confidence in our state institutions and independent institutions. I have a brother who always says we have a judicialized politics and a politicized judiciary.
Right.
But more than that, we also have a villagized military and militarized villages. What am I trying to say? There is serious state capture. There is serious conflation in the ruling party, the state institutions, and the independent institutions, the supposedly independent institutions, particularly the Chapter 12 institutions. So the trust in those institutions, when it wanes, when the confidence continues to deteriorate, young people obviously suddenly fail to at least have trust, have respect, and have confidence in the processes these institutions might have to lead. So you have a president in the form of Mr. Mnangagwa, who just 2 days ago was threatening to shut down civic space. You have a ruling party that brags that there will be war if any other political party wins. You have a Zimbabwe Electoral Commission that is staffed with military personnel. You have a Zimbabwe Electoral Commission whose commissioners themselves do not pass the test of credibility, whose fidelity to the constitution is very much in doubt even before they started their work. You have daughters of competitors themselves. You have younger sisters of competitors themselves. You have people who do not exactly exhibit any kind of clue in as far as our elections are concerned. We have people who perform dismally in interviews in as far as ZEC interviews were concerned in parliament. But you see them excelling and moving forward to become ZEC commissioners. So I would understand young people who say that they don't want to participate. But of course, in the face of that, there is no other way to change that, because even those institutions, they equally need a political solution. And to change that, you equally have to defeat that captured state of our institutions by registering to vote more. I will revert to Shona and say, kana makudo akaramba achidya mumunda chatinogona kuita kuwedzera mbeu kuti tigone kuti kana akadyawo 15 chibage Tinokuwa 1,500. Thank you.
Interesting. Mcdonald, your own take.
I think before coming to that, I just want to speak to an issue that Chiriga raised earlier on Section 7 and say that we are not complicit. We understand there's a very big challenge and there's a very big gap. As we speak, we have got a citizen, Alice Gouveia, who petitioned the Parliament of Zimbabwe on the basis of Section 7 of the Constitution, where as part of that petition, she is arguing to say that we should have the Constitution taught within schools. Yes. Apart from that, we are coming from just concluding the youth school on constitutionalism. It's entirely based on the spirit of Section 7 of the Constitution, where we are targeting the demographic dividend in our country, which is the young people, to begin to understand how to interpret their own constitution, the importance of the institutions that are established, but also more importantly, that social contract that you're talking about. Because one thing about each and every election cycle is when we go to elections and after elections, because of that social contract that is contained within the Constitution of Zimbabwe, we cede so much power to the people that then come as winners of that election. Legislative authority, we give it to the people that sit in the National Assembly, which is a combination of the President, the Senate, and the members of Parliament. The same with the judiciary that you're talking about, which is captured. We give the judiciary its authority. Even the executive gets its authority from us. And I think as part of this conversation, one thing that we need our young people to begin to understand is the power that is in their vote. Because for so many young people out there, there's been a lot of disinformation that has told them that your vote does not count. Your vote actually counts and it actually matters. Coming to the issue that you are mentioning, Yvonne, around the apathy of our young people, elections in Zimbabwe have always happened. I don't know of a time in our history where we missed an election. We are one country that has always gone to elections. But let's look at how young people have experienced these elections. Talk of a young person in a rural area. We've had episodes of politically motivated violence, where certain young people in certain villages could not even go to their own home or their own village. They had to hide in caves for supposed assumption that they are party B, C, or A. So you'd find that that kind of victimization that some of these young people have grown with. Elections in Zimbabwe also come with a lot of politically motivated violence. And this violence takes a youth face. Why? Because young people are manipulated, mobilized, and then released to orchestrate different forms of violence.
Right.
And over the years, all of that is affecting how young people see elections.
So as a parent, I don't want my child to participate because I don't want them to be manipulated to commit atrocities. Neither do I want them to be at the receiving end of violence. Could that have been what has happened over the last maybe 20 years, that we've raised a generation of young people who have shunned from politics because of the violent nature that our politics took from 1999 thereabouts?
We've taken so much pride into claiming that politics is dirty. You sound so smart by saying that, which is false. Zimbabwean intolerant partisan politics is at the present moment dirty. But for us to clean it, we have to participate in it in large numbers, peacefully, with tolerance, and making sure that we adhere to the constitution. We respect the next person's choices. I support a particular political party. I know who I'm going to vote for in 2023. Right now, I know. But the next person equally knows who they are going to vote for. My duty, if I want my preferred political candidate to win, is to convince, because as Mr. Dewama Vinga would say, the logic of force should always overpower the force of logic.
Okay.
The force of logic should always overpower the logic of force.
Right.
So it is about teaching young people to be tolerant. It is about teaching young people that politics is not dirty. Actually, politics, in as much as you might want to avoid it, is both ubiquitous and inevitable.
Right.
So you don't run away from politics, dirty or clean as you might want to see it. So the only people who are going to clean our politics and ensure that there is no politically motivated violence, there is no intimidation, there is no abuse of state resources, there is no abuse of state institutions, there is no abuse of a security apparatus to intimidate people in the rural areas particularly, are us, by making sure that we shun political violence, we shun the abuse of drugs by politicians, those who give their young people drugs to go and beat other people. We ensure that we educate our young people that political choices should be free, number one, and ensure that every person should participate freely and peacefully. I think you might have seen a video from Kenya yesterday where supporters of Mr. Raila Odinga and the supporters of Mr. William Ruto, they were greeting each other on their way to the polling station. It was such a nice, it was such a nice spectacle. But the mere fact that that made news shows how backward we have been as far as tolerating each other's political choices is concerned. So my message would be convince, don't beat people, just convince. It's simple.
It's actually quite interesting when you have such conversations and you hear these insights coming through. I'm not sure if Joseph is back, because what I wanted to know, Joseph, is what is it that the Zambian youth did that young people in Zimbabwe are not doing, that have seen your country move from where it was and where it is? I would tell you that our political systems are completely different. You've had changes in terms of leadership, whereas Zimbabwe, the system remains the same. We may have had two heads of state, but the system remains the same. What is it that Zambian youth have done that Zimbabwean youth are not doing? Or what is it that you see Zimbabwean youth not doing that they should do in order for us to get to a point where we stand proud of our land? We can't hear you. Are you talking? Is your device on mute? Joseph, we can see that you're talking, but we can't hear you. All right, so we really can't hear Joseph. Joseph, we can see that you are talking, but we can't really hear you. Our technical team, is there a way of just flagging that out to him, even on WhatsApp? Because we can't hear him. All right, if you are tuned in live, we are coming to you live from our Zimbabwe Daily Studios, and we are talking to Tapiwanashe Chiriga he's a young person, a young activist, a human rights activist even. I do also have Mcdonald Munyoro, who is coming through from the National Association of Youth Organizations, and they're running a campaign that says, "Leave no youth behind." And we're also joined online by the UND spokesperson, Joseph Kalimbwe there. Unfortunately, we can't hear Joseph. I don't understand what's happening. It's either on your side, your microphone is on mute or something, because we can see that you're talking, but we can't really hear what you're saying. So maybe if you can just sort the device your end, we may be able to hear you this side. And we know that an inclusive democracy means that all citizens should feel represented and heard. However, young people, minorities, and marginalized groups are often excluded from political structures, resulting in a lack of genuine representation in decision-making processes. So we are trying to interrogate what could be the reason our young people have gotten to a point where they need to be pushed to go and register to vote. We learned that the whole blitz exercise that ZEC undertook, only 200,000 people registered to vote. Of the potential 8 million people who can vote in Zimbabwe, only 5 million have registered to say they want to vote. During the cleanup exercise, a few people went to verify if their information, their data is captured correctly. Now I understand what you talked about, Tapiwa, about a compromised system, ZAC itself, the governance, the lack of political will to make sure that we have systems that are running. But one question remains. And then what? Environment is quit. The situation is not allowing us to change. But until when? Toramba tichichema usikarini, Mcdonald.
All right, thank you very much, Yvonne. Zimbabwe is a constitutional democracy. And the constitution of Zimbabwe answers for us the kind of questions that you're asking us. We hold elections when we do and when we have them. Let us participate fully as the citizens of Zimbabwe. And it's very unfortunate that 2022, we're still talking about the apathy of our young people in our country. And there are so many issues that continue to act as barriers to the participation of young people in politics. But surprisingly, if you look at the structure of most strong, formidable political parties in Zimbabwe, you'd find that each political party has got a formidable youth wing. Where you know that if a youth wing of a political party is to call the media and address journalists, whatever they are saying, it will cause, shakes and movements within that political party structure or that entire political movement. And for me, it means that at the level at which these political parties are putting up their ideologies, are mobilizing their people, young people are there, they are represented, they are participating. We have those youth wings, we have got those chairpersons, those chairwomen within this political party.
Is that not where we have a problem?
No. But the question for me that we should be maybe interrogating is then to say, when it comes to election day, when it comes to the fielding of candidates, why do we see a picture that does not mirror how the political party structure is structured? If you've got a formidable women's wing, put the women there. A formidable women's wing, a youth wing, put the youth, put the there. You've got a formidable main wing, put the old madalas there in the main wing. And let's have a balance that shows the diversity, that shows the inclusion that is within that party, especially when it comes to election day. Because ultimately, what then matters is the kind of leaders that come out of an election. And we have continued to have elections which produce 5% less, or minus or plus, minus 5% representation of young people in parliament, minus plus representation in local authorities. Yet we are saying that we've got the numbers. During the mobilization, during the campaigning, we are the people that are raising the party, we are moving. But when it comes to the office itself, we are locked out. And I think this is something that we might also then need to interrogate, how these political parties continue to systematically lock out young people from gaining access to public office.
Interesting that I asked the question to somebody who is in a political formation, our team. Maybe you can cue that audio so that we can then just get to listen. They're the foot soldiers, but they are Norway. And I was thinking, is that not where we have a problem? Where we have a whole youth wing structure, a whole women's wing structure, and what we call a main wing structure.
Exactly. That's the point. You see, the moment you fight to lead the youth wing,
right?
The 300 of you who are in a political party, the moment you fight to lead the youth wing, you are fighting to sit on segregated benches written blacks only in an apartheid.
Oh,
you are fighting to sit there. You are fighting to see who fits there. But then the Europeans only apartheid bench remains staffed with the main wing, because you see, this is called the main wing for a reason. It's the highest decision making body.
Right.
These ones are just there for mobilization purposes. As long as our young people do not strive to get into those main wings, because they are not restricted constitutionally. I have not seen a party constitution from ZANU-PF, from CCC, from MDC, the main political parties that are represented in parliament. I have not seen them barring young people from representing young people in their main wings.
Right.
But because young people are forced to constrict and restrict themselves into those youth wings. Women are forced to constrict and restrict themselves into those women's wings, and they have to convene their special congresses where just women sit there, and then just one representative, and then he has to go and represent the women and the
In the
youth
main
in the main
Yeah.
wing, where the old madalas remain there.
Right.
That is the foundation of our problem, because it is the main wing that makes decisions. These ones make recommendations, and these ones make and the main wing then
Yeah.
makes decisions. So
Right.
until our young people strive to become presidents, until our young people strive to become vice presidents in their political parties,
Right.
not just fighting to become youth chair. You see people fighting viciously in a political party because they're fighting for control over a youth thing. Why not fight to become a vice president of your own party?
Right.
Why not fight? Maybe the presidents, maybe it will be restrictive on the
Because of
fact
the
on the
constitutional
constitutional
provision for a
on the
40
40.
year old, yeah.
Yes, but why are you not fighting to become secretary general of your party? Why are you not fighting for that? So that's the
Right.
first problem. The second problem is that we have come to understand elections as an event, not a process.
Right.
That is why everyone is waiting for 2023.
Exactly.
But we should not be waiting for 2023. Do we understand the processes? Right now, delimitation is occurring. How many people know and understand?
Right.
People were checking and verifying their details on the
Right.
ZEC website, on the ZEC USSD platform. Did they understand what it meant?
Right.
The impact it had on delimitation? How many people, even within the very echelons of party structures in political parties, you'll be
Right.
very shocked. Go and ask. I would task you, and
Right.
in as much as I don't have that power, but I would task you, Yvonne, to call one day some of these big wigs in any political party of your choice,
Right.
and ask, what exactly do you mean when you say political reforms?
Right.
What exactly do you mean when you say electoral reforms? You'll be shocked. Do they understand the reforms that they want? They don't, most of them. So as long as we understand elections as events, not processes, then we are doomed. I'm happy that now, I think in 2023 we have done better than previous elections. In as far as yes, we are still very much lagging, but we have done better in understanding the processes that lead to an election.
Right.
Because I can see that civil society, I can see that young people, many young people, to their credit, they are very much invested in electoral reforms. They are very much invested in youth-friendly reforms. A few days ago, I was speaking to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on youth, sports and recreation, on youth-friendly reforms. And I had many young people with me who were speaking to them.
Right.
It showed how how people are at least getting invested in the process more than the event. Because as long as we wait, that is why in 2018, many young people, I think every one of us here can attest to the fact that many young people suddenly wanted to register to vote when the wave of the election overshadowed everyone. But then registration had been closed.
Right.
But because we're not focused on elections as a process.
Process, yeah.
So right now, ZEC commissions are getting appointed. We are obviously in a process where very soon we'll kickstart reforming the Electoral Act. We are in a process where we'll kickstart reforming our electoral process as a whole, the legal, the administrative, and the political reforms that come with reforming the electoral system. As long as we're not invested in that and waiting for 2023, then we are doomed as a country, because young people will find themselves fighting to be eligible to be a candidate, but they don't know how to be eligible. So when it suddenly dawns on you that you should be participating, it will be too late. There are people who are preparing themselves right now to be
Right.
candidates.
Yeah.
So if you are a young person and you think you can by some miracle become a candidate in 2023,
Yeah.
and you're not working today,
But we've
I'm
got-
sorry, but
we've
age
just-
will not just cut it for
We
you
have these
in 2023.
godfathers who've been in parliament since 1983, who will tell you that we are seniors in this, in their constituencies, where this person has been in parliament since before some of our young people were born, before you were born.
Yes.
Chiriga. There are people who have been there, and when you put your head in there, they will chop it.
The first
faster,
problem is
faster.
that many people suddenly put their heads up in 2023 March.
Right.
When primary elections are up, they suddenly remember that there is an election, and this brother of mine, Mcdonald, has been MP since 1985, and he has to be defeated. You can't do that in March 2023.
Right.
By now, you should have started. You should be mobilizing young people to register to vote. You
Right.
should be understanding the procedures and processes that could make you a candidate in your political party.
Yeah.
By now, you should know that.
Yeah.
And if you know that, I'm so sure that by now you could be shaking a lot of tremors in your political institution.
Young people take the initiative and start mobilizing other fellow young people to get yourselves elected. Until and unless we come together as young people to push for such things, we will continue to see all these old madalas in positions of power, be it ZANU-PF, be it MDC, be it it doesn't matter. What we're concerned about is, as a young person, where are you in the political matrix of our country? And I want us to listen to this audio coming through from Stephen Chuma. When I asked him, "You're just ground people. What else is there for you?" Can we hear that?
Things Yvonne. I totally agree with you that the participation of young people in general in politics is very poor. And this can be attributed to social factors, cultural factors, economic factors, and political factors. Social cultural factors, you will see that in some parts of our country, in some communities in our country, we still have people that believes in male chauvinism, that believes in gerontocracy, which is a belief that only the old can automatically lead the society. A society that believes that young people are leaders of tomorrow, not of today. These are some of the issues culturally, socially, that inhibit young people from participating in politics. But economically, I think it plays a big role economically, because when you look at Zimbabwe's current economic situation, you would see that there's stinging poverty, and it's very difficult for young people just to put food on the table. And when it comes to politics, you agree with me that money is a factor, funds are a factor, resources are a factor. You need to be very sound economically to be able to run a campaign that is buying election regalia, and also transport-wise, there's a lot of things that are needed to run a successful campaign. And so you see that young people on that regard are found wanting when it comes to resources, because we have more than 60% of unemployment in this country, and those that are unemployed mostly are young people. Hence, for they face challenges on that regard. Then there's also issue of ageism. You do agree with me that for one to be a parliamentarian, you have to be 21 years. But then for one to be able to vote, you only need to be 18 years of age. So that disparity, when somebody can vote but cannot participate as a candidate until the age 21, it also comes in the end, especially when it comes to participation of those that are below the age of 21. Then you can also look at even the presidential age, which is 40. Where the majority of the population in this country are young people who are below 35 years. But unfortunately, they can't be a president until they reach the age of 40 in line with the constitution. So these are also some of the factors, constitutional factors, that you need to young people to participate. Maybe if you want to run to be a parliamentarian, you are below 21. So it means in that regard you can't. Then I can also point to the issue of political factors. We all know that the way Zambian have fractured the politics in this country is now like a war zone, where the situation where we have our young girls, our young female leaders, Cecelia, Chimbiri, and Joanna Mombe, we all know what happened to them, the way sexual abuse, they were tortured, they were abducted. So that message alone, it sent a wrong message to be an activist, to be a female politician, because we create, or let me say, Zambian government has managed to create a hostile situation for young people, especially young females, to participate in politics. We've also seen what happened to Munyoro, or activist who was brutally murdered during a rally in Kwekwe. That also, if we put that into context, it makes young people not to want to participate. because they will think, oh no, politics, this is a war zone, politics, people are caged. So, generally, those are my submissions. I welcome more questions, then I'm ready to reply.
All right. So he spoke in general, but he didn't specifically address the question that I'd asked him about young people in political parties. We want to round up this conversation, Joseph, and we've been failing to hear you. And I hope this time we'll be able to hear you. What would be your submissions as we round up this conversation after listening to what Tapiwa and Mcdonald have been saying in studio?
Well, first of all, my apologies. My previous, I'm now using a different device. But in any case, I do believe. Yes. In any case, I do believe that it's very important that young people must get involved in politics. Join political parties, join the structures, whether it means at a world level or at a provincial level or at a national level, get involved in politics. Because at the end of the day, young people are going to play a very important role in ensuring that we bring about the change that is required. That is what we had been doing in Zambia, participating, getting young people involved in the political processes of their country. And at the end of the day, what we did is that we mobilized millions of young people between the ages of 18 and 35. We had about 3.7 young Zambians going to register to vote. But we knew that what we were doing in the political structures of the UPND was not enough in itself. We needed to mobilize, to go out to the masses of our people and explain to them why it was important that they must vote for a political party. Vote for us. That was our message. Vote for us, not just because we are from the opposition, but because we've got better alternatives. We can be able to shape our country. We can be able to make the culture stronger. We could be able to bring down the inflation rate. And we could be able to create a Zambian political environment where young people can graduate into an economy that gives them jobs. That was our message. But we understood that a lot of our young people are still, even now, unemployed. We had inherited the coffers that were very empty. We are coming from a political landscape where we had a Zambian president that was looking at the struggles of our people from a window of a private jet, instead of being here on the ground, mobilizing our people and telling them that things will change. That is the political space that we are coming from. I do believe that what we did in Zambia is not different from what young people in Zimbabwe can do. It's embarrassing that 43 years after your country gained independence, people have to go to another country and be called foreigners. You know, people that are most learned in the region, the most literate country in the region, they have to go to South Africa. And when they go to South Africa, they are being called Macquarie, they are being called foreigners, they are being demonized. It is something that must change. You know, I have been fortunate enough to learn at a foreign university where I could interact with some Zimbabweans. And these are smart human beings with an intellect that can be trusted. And so it is important that young people must get involved in politics. Fight for your country, fight for your world, fight for the region. I do believe that we can bring about that change that is required. That is why some of us joined the UPND. And through those political structures, we're now beginning to bring about the change that is needed. And we're mobilizing more young people because in as much as we are now the ruling party, the party must continue to mobilize our people about the struggles that we are facing and how we can be able to resolve those issues.
Right. And Joseph, just as a motivation, how many young people do you actually have in your government?
Well, look, when it comes to appointments, I've seen a lot of people that have been saying, no, such and such individuals have not been appointed. But we joined the UPND because we wanted to ensure that we bring about the change that we require. The appointment of young people or older people or middle-aged people, that is the prerogative of the president. The president chooses who he wants to serve with, who he wants to govern with. But there are young people that have been appointed in positions of leadership. But what we are against, and what we are politically against with that, young people must never just be used as tools of violence, whether those young people are in political structures or not. Young people must be trusted instruments of power that they can therefore shape the direction of their country. And not just shaping the direction of their countries, but that they can bring better ideas to the table and they should be appointed into positions of leadership to lead going forward. And that the part of leading should be that even nations like my own must not just lead our country. We must lead this region. We must lead SADC and be able to extend a hand of friendship only to those who respect the basic human rights of their people. And so those things, when people come with these kinds of attacks to attack people like me, to say, no, you shouldn't speak about these things. I come from a country where Kenneth Kaunda in 1969 decided to shape what we call the Lusaka Manifesto. We helped to ensure that Zimbabwe is free from the Ian Smith regime. We helped to ensure that Namibia, then Southwest Africa, was free from South African defense forces. It's the same with South Africa itself. We fought for that. And so those kinds of things are what we must do. We must tell dictators exactly where we stand, that we're only going to extend our Zambian hand of friendship to those who respect basic human rights, those who believe that young people also have got better ideas to contribute to the table. And we must continue to ensure that we encourage young people to mobilize. As a news agency, Zim Daily, I believe you can be able to do that. And I do believe that individuals on your panel who have been expressing good ideas, they must be tapped. They must be tapped into political structures. They must be tapped into those channels where they can be able to participate and continue to mobilize.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for those words, and for the team here as well. Just to round up this conversation, what would be your message to those in leadership right now who have always looked at the young people as those that we send to do the groundwork, the dirty work, and when it comes to political power, we retain it for ourselves?
Number one, we're a generation that has lost everything and we have nothing else to lose. So definitely, number one, we will start to understand processes. Number two, we will participate. We're not here to make up the numbers. We are here to lead too. We are today's leaders. If they are looking for tomorrow's leaders, then they will have to check for our children. We are today's leaders and we are definitely coming for them.
Mcdonald?
All right. Looking at our history as a country, we gained independence following a protracted struggle for liberation. Young people took the liberation struggle, they made sacrifices. When they came back, the cabinet that we had in our country, or the first government, was fairly youthful. Then the people of Zimbabwe entrusted its young people and its young generation to find solutions to its problems. The same thing should also happen to our current generation. We are the solutions as young people. Let's begin to mobilize each other and create a movement that helps us to create solutions that create the Zimbabwe that we want. More importantly, Joseph has said, join political parties. This thing of us standing as independent candidates, as young people, it doesn't work in Zimbabwe. If you want to stand for office, find a political party. You are better off there standing as a candidate, and you are more likely to win than when you stand as an independent candidate.
Right. So join a political party, begin to participate in activities that are happening in your area. Really start now to mobilize the base. You may be 18, you're eligible to vote, and you would want at some point to stand as a member of parliament or to be part of the governmental processes. You have to start now. You don't just wake up and you're 21 and you say, "Here I am, vote for me." No, let yourself, as you move, gain traction. I know that when we begin to talk about individuals, it can be seen as if we are campaigning or what. But I think there was a season when Nelson Chamisa arose as a 40-year-old with the traction that he had on the ground, giving young people hope that, actually, as young people, we can be a president, we can be a leader, we can be much more than just someone in the party structures. We can actually stand up and be counted. So it's important that young people begin to rise up. It doesn't matter it's in business, it doesn't matter it's in the arts and entertainment, it doesn't matter what mountain of influence you want to to stand on. It's important that we begin to stand on those mountains. We've seen artists coming out and saying, register to vote. We've seen actors coming out and saying, register to vote. That is critical because we all have mountains of influence. Let's use that and mobilize young people to register to vote, to actually vote come voting day, and to defend the vote when the results are announced. That is all we need as young people so that we may hold to account those we elect. It has been a long conversation, but I hope that you've picked one or two things. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our technical things were not really working for us today. I think they were conspiring so that we don't have this conversation, but we have brought it and it's going to continue. Next week, we bring another perspective. I want the young women, Cecelia, Chimbiri, Tatenda Mavetera, to still come into the studio that we may have this conversation, but with a specific look at the women quota. Young people have been given 10%, but is that enough? This is your country. You've got to build it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Zimbabwe Daily. Thank you, Joseph, for joining me. Tapiwa, Mcdonald, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me.
It was a pleasure.
And for the team behind the scenes, thank you so much for working against all odds to make sure that this goes out. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for tuning in. It's bye-bye for now.